The deserted shelter asterisk the sky was gray, the wind sharp, and the land stretched like broken stone. No trees, no water. Just dust and old metal skeletons of long-dead ships. In the middle of this dead place, she moved quietly, her arms held her. Smallest child, while two others walked behind her. Tired and cold, her skin was pale purple, her eyes glowing dim with hunger. She had no name anymore, no home, and no mate to protect her. The alien mother had been cast out by her own people. She was blamed for her mate's death. They called her cursed, unworthy. They took her food, her shelter, and left her to die with her young. But she didn't die. She kept walking. One foot after another, she had two for the little ones. She had heard stories of humans. Some said they were monsters. Some said they were kind. She didn't care anymore. She just needed food when she saw the human supply camp in the distance. She knew it was a risk, but her children had not eaten in 2 days. Their bellies were shrinking. Their cries had stopped, so she crouched in the dirt. Hiding behind a rock, watching the humans unload crates, she waited until night. When the camp lights dimmed, she moved fast. She crept toward a crate, her children. Waiting behind a broken machine, her hands trembled as she opened the lid, grabbing dried ration bars and stuffing them into a cloth. But before she could turn, "Hey, what are you doing there?" a voice shouted. A bright light hit her face. She froze like prey caught in a trap. Then she ran. She didn't make it far. 3 human soldiers surrounded her, weapons raised. One of them pointed and said, "Look, she's got young ones," another sneered. "Might be a scout, might be a trick." She dropped to her knees, shielding her children. Tears filled her glowing eyes. She didn't beg, she knew it never worked. But then, a 4th man stepped forward. He wore a dusty brown jacket. His face lined with age, and sun, his eyes met. Hers not with hate, but something softer. He looked at the children behind her, shaking, silent, scared. "Put your guns down," he said. "What?" "She's stealing." One soldier barked, "She's starving." The man replied calmly. He walked over slowly. The mother flinched, expecting pain, but instead he knelt, picked up the youngest child, and gently wrapped her in his coat. "She's freezing." He said, "Help me get them inside." The other soldiers hesitated, confused, but the man didn't care. He looked at the mother and said, "Come." She didn't move at first. She stared at him, unsure. Why would a human help her? What did he want? But her child was in his arms, and she couldn't leave her behind, so she stood and followed. They walked to a small outpost at the edge of the camp. It was old, rusty, filled with crates and half-broken machines, but inside was warm. He laid the child down on a cot, opened a heating unit, and handed the mother a sealed food pack. She took it slowly, like it might vanish, then tore it open and shared it with the children. They ate like animals, but the man didn't judge. He just sat on a crate, watching quietly. "I'm Cole," he said softly. The mother didn't answer. She just kept feeding her young. Cole didn't push her. After a while, he brought more food, blankets, even a soft toy for the smallest. The children began to smile for the first time in weeks. But the mother didn't smile, not yet. She watched him with wary eyes, waiting for the moment he'd demand something. That's what others always did. But night came, and he made no move. He let them sleep in the station. He slept outside in a chair with a blanket over his shoulders. The wind howled, but the fire stayed lit. The mother lay awake, curled around her young, her mind racing with fear and confusion. Why was this human helping her? Would he try to take her children? Would he hurt her when the others weren't looking? But her children were warm, their bellies full. For the first time in a long time, no one was crying. And as her eyes closed, her last thought was not of fear, but of something strange, something small, a spark of hope. The next morning came. Slowly, cold light slipped through the cracks of the shelter's walls. The alien mother opened her eyes first. She was used to waking early. Surviving meant always watching, always fearing. Her children were still asleep, curled up in the blankets Cole had given. Their tiny bellies rose and fell peacefully. It felt unreal. No screaming, no coughing, no hunger pulling at their ribs like claws. Just soft breathing. She almost didn't believe it was real. Then she smelled something warm. Her nose twitched, her body stiffened. Food. Real food. She looked up and saw Cole crouched near the heating unit. He was cooking. A pan rested on a cracked stove. Steam rising from it. He turned his head and noticed her watching. "Morning," he said, with a tired smile. "I found some protein paste. Figured I'd mix it with water biscuits. Make something soft for the kids." The mother didn't speak. She didn't know what protein paste or water biscuits were. But the smell made her stomach twist with hunger. She stood slowly and checked her children, still breathing, still alive. Then she stepped closer, careful, quiet, like approaching a wild animal. Cole didn't move. He just kept stirring the pan. After a minute, he said, "There's enough for you two. You don't have to eat last." She blinked, confused. That was a strange thing to say. She always ate last if there was anything left. He poured the thick meal into cracked metal bowls. He handed the smallest one to her gently. She hesitated, then took it with both hands. It was warm, soft, and smelled like safety. The children woke one by one, rubbing their tired eyes when they saw the bowls. Their faces lit up. They rushed over, sitting on the cold floor without a word. The mother gave them her bowl, as always, but Cole stopped her. "No," he said firmly. "That one's for you. They have their own." She froze. It felt wrong, too generous, too strange, but she obeyed, slowly eating for the first time in what felt like forever. The food was thick, salty, and strange, but it filled the hunger, warmed her chest. Her body shook slightly, not from fear, but from finally relaxing. It scared her. Relaxing was dangerous. Kindness was dangerous. After the meal, Cole began fixing the heating wires again. The children watched him curiously, their little fingers pointing at tools and buttons. He smiled and explained in simple English, "This is a wire splicer. This one connects power. This is broken just like my patience." The kids giggled softly. Repeating the words back in their own accent, the mother sat quietly, watching everything. She didn't understand most of what he said, but she watched his hands, his face, his movements. No threats, no sudden anger, just calm. He even let the children touch his tools without yelling. Later that day, a dust storm rose outside. It howled against the shelter like angry ghosts. The sky turned orange, then red. Visibility dropped to nothing. The mother grew nervous, her body tense. Storms were deadly, especially in open places. She pulled the children close. Covering them with the blankets, Cole shut the door tight, secured it with thick straps. "Storm will pass in a few hours," he said. "We're safe in here." She looked at him sharply. Safe. That word had lost meaning long ago. The wind screamed louder, shaking the walls. But the shelter didn't break. Cole lit a lamp, its soft yellow light glowing in the dark. He passed out small water packs and told a funny story about his first failed meal on this planet. "Thought I was cooking meat. Turned out to be rubber insulation." The children laughed again, real laughter this time. It echoed like sunlight in the shadows. The mother couldn't laugh, not yet. But something in her chest ached when she saw her children smiling. She whispered, "They happy?" Cole nodded. "They should be." She hesitated, then asked, "Why you help?" Cole looked at her, his eyes serious now. "Because I saw you holding your kids like I used to hold my sister's children. She gone now. They're gone too. I couldn't save them," he said quietly. But maybe I can help you. His words hit her like wind. She had expected demands, expectations, maybe even force, but all he offered was help that night as the storm screamed outside and the children slept in warmth. The alien mother sat near the fire with Cole. They didn't speak much, but something unspoken passed between them. Not trust, not yet, but a thread, a beginning. The kind of beginning that only happens when the world has taken everything. And one stranger gives something back, even a simple meal they didn't deserve, even that was enough to spark a new path. She had shared a room with many males before, but this was the first time she wasn't afraid. Cole had offered her and the children a place to sleep, but never once had he asked for anything in return. Not even a touch, not even a word. She didn't want to say. He slept outside the main shelter most nights, wrapped in an old thermal blanket, snoring softly under the stars. She watched him through the small window sometimes, waiting, fearing he would change like others did. But he never did. Every morning he brought them food. He made silly jokes, played guessing games with the children. Sometimes he left small gifts, a carved wooden figure, a warm pair of socks, and still he kept his distance. The children now called him Kolda, not father in their tongue, but something close, something sweet. The mother didn't stop them anymore. She just listened and wondered. One night, she sat outside with him while the kids slept. The stars above looked strange to her, distant and cold. Cole offered her half a protein bar. She took it slowly, still unsure what to say. He looked at her, his eyes calm. "You don't have to be scared of me," he said gently. "Us." She stared at the fire and whispered, "I'm not scared." He smiled. "Yes, you are. I can see it." She clenched the bar tightly in her hand, then asked the question that had lived inside her chest for days. "You not want me?" Cole blinked, surprised. "What do you mean?" "You not touch me?" she said slowly, her voice shaking. "Other males, they help, but only for touch, for body." Now Cole looked away, his jaw tight. "I'm not like them," he said. "I don't help because I want something. I help because it's the right thing to do." The silence between them grew heavy. The fire crackled. The wind whispered across the sand. She looked at him with wide, confused eyes. This kind of kindness. It didn't make sense to her. She was used to being a body, not a person, a thing to be used, not protected. Cole leaned forward slightly, keeping his hands folded. "You are a mother," he said. "You're tired and hurt, and you don't trust anyone. I get it, but I'm not here to break you. I'm here to help you stand again." Her eyes burned, but she didn't cry. She hadn't cried in years, not since they buried her mate under frozen rocks. Not since her own people spat on her name and cast her out. That night, she didn't say thank you. She didn't touch him. But she didn't fear him either, and that, for her, was a big thing. The next morning, she found Cole cooking again. The children were helping. They had learned how to press the buttons on the stove. The youngest tried to sneak a piece, and Cole caught him with a playful growl. The room was full of laughter. The mother stood at the edge of the room, watching silently. This scene, this warmth, it didn't feel real. Not long ago. She was hiding in trash heaps, feeding her children old fruit skins. Now they laughed. Now they called a human Da, and she no longer felt cold. Cole looked over his shoulder and saw her. He smiled without saying anything. He didn't stare at her body like other males used to. He looked at her face, her eyes, like she mattered. Later, the children played outside, drawing shapes in the sand with sticks. The mother helped Cole clean the cooking tools. Their hands brushed once. She flinched out of habit, but he pulled back quickly. "Sorry," he said. "Didn't mean to." She nodded. No words. Just quiet understanding. That evening, A small human drone flew over the shelter. It hovered, scanning, blinking red. The mother panicked, grabbing her children, pulling them inside. Cole quickly shut the doors and covered the windows. "It's okay," he whispered. "Just a scout bot." "I've seen them before." She trembled, her back against the wall. "Will they take us?" Cole shook his head. "Not if I can help it." He gave each child a warm cloth to hold and crouched near the door with a plasma rifle, not aimed at her, but aimed out, tamed to protect. She sat beside him in the darkness for the first time. In years, she didn't feel like prey. She felt guarded, respected as the drone flew away. The fear in her chest eased. She turned to Cole and whispered, "You stay." He looked at her, confused. She repeated, slower, clearer, "You stay." With us, a soft smile crossed his face. "I was never planning to leave," he said, and in that moment, something in her heart began to change. It wasn't love yet. It wasn't trust. But it was something stronger than fear. It was the start of belonging. The fire was low, crackling softly. The children had fallen asleep with full bellies and warm blankets. Cole sat on the other side of the room. Cleaning an old plasma tool with steady hands, the alien mother sat near the wall, her eyes half closed. But sleep did not come to her. Her mind was not in this shelter. It had drifted to the cold cliffs of her homeworld, to the night when her mate had been taken. He was strong, kind, and had once lifted her in his arms during spring migration. They had chosen each other under the moons. Shared food, shared dreams. He had loved their first child with a fierce joy, but love meant nothing. When the war came, her people were attacked by raiders from a rival tribe. Her mate stood to fight, but he fell. She saw it, all his body struck down, burned by energy fire. And when she ran to hold him, they blamed her, said it was her fault, said she was bad. Luck cursed. Her own sister turned away. They didn't give her time to grieve, didn't even let her bury him with respect. They threw her out of the village with nothing but her children and her tears. No food, no shelter, not even a goodbye, only silence. Now, sitting here in a human shelter with soft lights and steady warmth, she felt the past rising like smoke. In her lungs, it burned. It always burned. Cole looked up and saw her face. He stood, walked over slowly. He didn't sit too close. He never did, but his voice was soft. "You're far away tonight," he said. She blinked, surprised, then nodded. Slowly, her voice trembled. "I remember the day he died." Cole didn't speak, just listened. She took a breath, then told him the story. Not every word was perfect, but he understood. She told him how her mate fought bravely, how he died saving others, how the same people he died for cast her aside, how they looked at her and saw only blame. She told him about hiding in tunnels, about her children crying for food while she dug through garbage, about nights when she had to choose which child got to eat. Cole's hands curled into fists at his sides, but he didn't interrupt. He let her speak, let her empty the pain that had been locked inside for years. "I scream in my head every night," she said in a whisper. "I hold my babies, but I cry inside. Because no one held me." Her voice cracked on that last word. Held. Cole looked down, then slowly reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small, square photo. Faded, he handed it to her. She looked at it, confused. It showed a human woman and two small children, all smiling, standing near a green field. Cole's voice was quiet. "My sister, her kids, gone." He didn't say how, didn't need to. Pain, new pain. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, she saw it. He had suffered too. He was not just a kind man, he was a broken one, trying to be whole by helping others. She held the photo carefully, then handed it back. "I'm sorry," she said softly. He nodded, eyes moist but strong. "No child should be hungry," he said. "No mother should feel forgotten." They sat in silence for a while. The fire cracked again, and something between them changed, not with touch, not with words, but with shared grief. Grief that stretched across worlds, across species. Because pain, she learned, was universal. She looked at him again, this time not with fear, not with confusion, but with respect. "You understand," she whispered. He nodded. "I do." She placed her hand gently on her chest, where her heart beat slow and quiet. And for the first time in many cycles, she whispered her real name. He repeated it, slowly, carefully, trying to say it right. And when he did, she smiled. Just a little. That name, once lost in the ashes of her village, had returned. She wasn't just the alien mother now. She was someone again, seen, heard, remembered. And in that dark, quiet room, with children sleeping nearby and pain laid bare like open wounds, she realized something. She didn't have to carry it all alone anymore. The morning started like any other. Cold wind tapped at the windows. The sky above still dark from the night storm, but inside the shelter, something had changed. Not the walls, not the food, but something in the air. Something quiet and powerful. The children woke first. Stretching and giggling under their shared blanket, Cole was already cooking. Whistling a tune from his old world, he looked back and gave them a sleepy smile. "You guys hungry again? You're like little black holes," he joked. The oldest child, a boy with deep golden eyes, laughed loudly. Then, without thinking, he shouted, "Duh. Hungry." Cole froze. The mother, who was folding a torn blanket in the corner, turned her head sharply. Even the two younger children paused, their hands full of worn toys. "Duh." Cole repeated slowly, blinking. The boy nodded, grinning. "You duh," he said again, then pointed at his siblings. "We all." Yours. Silence filled the room. Warm, awkward, heavy silence. Cole looked at the mother, unsure if he had crossed some invisible line, but she didn't shout, didn't pull the child away. Instead, she stared at the floor, her hands shaking. Just a little. Cole knelt down in front of the boy. "You know, I'm not your real father, right?" he said gently. The boy nodded, then replied in broken English, "But you stay. You feed. You protect." He touched his small chest and added, "You duh." Cole swallowed hard. He had never expected this. He had given them food, shelter, warmth, but never imagined they would give him something so big in return. A title, a role, a name that meant everything. The youngest child, barely speaking yet, waddled over and tugged at his sleeve. "Duh," she whispered softly, then hugged his leg with tiny arms. His chest felt tight. Not from fear or sadness, but something else, something he hadn't felt in a long, long time. Belonging. The mother stood silently, watching. She remembered the day her first child said father. It was to a different man, a man now buried under rubble and dust. And now, her children had given that name to a human, a man from another world, another species. But a man who had done more for them than her own kind ever had. She walked over slowly, placing a hand on her child's shoulder. The boy looked up at her, waiting for approval. She looked at Cole, then nodded. Just once, and that was enough. Cole picked up the smallest child and held her close. She was warm and light in his arms. The girl nuzzled into his neck, her tiny hands gripping his shirt. He sat down with her in his lap, and the others climbed beside him, like stars orbiting a sun. They had chosen for themselves. Later that day, Cole added a small wooden sign near the shelter's entrance. He had carved it during the night. Simple words burned into the surface. Safe place. Family, welcome. The mother traced the letters with her fingers. She couldn't read them all, but she understood. This wasn't just a shelter anymore. It was a home, That evening, they sat together for the first real meal as something close to a family. Cole made root stew with crushed spices. The children argued over who got the bigger spoon. The mother smiled softly, hiding it behind her hand, and when one of them spilled soup all over his lap, Cole didn't shout. He just laughed and handed him a clean cloth. As the stars blinked into the sky outside, the mother sat beside Cole. Not close enough to touch, but no longer far either. "You? Never had children?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, just a niece and nephew. But they're gone now." Her voice lowered. "But now, you do." Cole looked at her, surprised. She met his eyes without fear. "They choose you," she said simply. "That means you are." And somehow, those few words hit harder than any weapon ever could. He had lost his old family in fire and smoke, but now, in a dusty corner of a forgotten world, he had found a new one. They didn't carry his blood. They didn't speak his language well, but they needed him, and he had chosen to stay. That night, as they all fell asleep in the same warm room, Cole lay awake. A child sleeping on his chest, another curled by his leg, and the alien mother resting nearby. Her breath soft and steady. He smiled to himself, not because it was easy, not because everything was perfect, but because for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Asterisk, the sun had barely risen when the warning came. Cole was outside, repairing one of the broken solar panels. The air was cool, dry, peaceful. Then the alarm on his wrist pad blinked red motion near the outer ridge. Not wild animals, not a sandstorm, something bigger, organized. He dropped the wrench, rushed toward the shelter. The mother was inside, braiding her daughter's hair. The children were laughing, throwing pebbles near the door. But the moment Cole stepped in with his serious face, the laughter stopped. He looked at her and said, "Someone's coming." Her smile vanished. She stood quickly, grabbing her youngest in her arms. "Who?" she asked, voice tight. "Don't know," Cole said, "but they're not hiding." 10 minutes later, dust clouds appeared on the horizon, figures walking toward them. Tall, strong, dressed in deep gray cloaks. The mother stepped outside, heart pounding, her eyes narrowed. She recognized the way they moved, the color of their armor, her people. They had found her. After all this time, they had come not to welcome her, but to take her back. The leader stepped forward, his face hidden under a metal mask. "We heard rumors," he said coldly, "that the cast-out female still lives." He looked at her children, then at Cole. "And that she lies with a human?" Cole stepped forward, hand resting on his tool belt where a sidearm rested. "She's under my care now," he said calmly. "She's free." The alien leader scoffed. "She is not free. She belongs to the clan. She carries blood that must be raised in the proper way." He pointed at the children. "We will take them, raise them with honor." "Not in filth like this," the mother gasped, stepping in front of her children. "No," she said firmly. "You left me. You threw us out. Now you want to take them." The leader didn't flinch. "Your emotions mean nothing. The law is clear. You had no right to bond with this creature." He gestured to Cole. "This off-worlder." Cole's eyes darkened. He moved to the door, blocking it with his body. "You're not taking anyone," he said, his voice like stone. "You abandoned her when she was starving. You don't get to claim her now." The soldiers behind the leader stepped forward, weapons in hand. The children began to cry. Huddling behind their mother, Cole raised his hands slowly. Not to fight, but to speak. "You say she's not worthy," Kay said, his voice loud and clear, "but I've seen her care for her children with nothing. While bleeding, while hungry. You say she dishonored your tribe, but I say you dishonored her. She is more family than any of you." The alien leader stepped closer, towering over Cole. "You would fight for her." Cole didn't blink. "I'd die for her." The silence was thick. Even the wind had paused. The mother stared at Cole, her heart pounding. She had never heard anyone say that, not even her own mate. Then the oldest child stepped forward, small. Fists clenched, he looked up at the aliens and shouted, "He is our father." The leader's expression changed slightly under the mask. A flicker of doubt. One of the soldiers lowered his weapon. Looking at the child, "He protected us." The boy continued, "He gave us food, warmth, and love." The mother stepped beside her son. "If you want to take us," she said, her voice rising, "you'll have to fight the only one who ever treated us like we mattered." More silence. Then the leader turned around slowly. "We do not fight for dirt," he said coldly. "We do not fight for traitors. To live with a human is a shame." As they walked away, the dust covered their footprints, but their words remained in the air. Sharp and cruel, Cole turned to the mother, breathing hard. "You okay?" She nodded, then looked at her children. All three of them stood tall beside Cole, their faces full of fear, but also pride. The mother stepped close to Cole. Her voice was soft. "You didn't run," he smiled gently. "Neither did you." That night, no one slept much, but no one cried either. Something had changed forever. Her people had come to take her children away. But her children had chosen to stay, and now she knew this man. This human wasn't just protecting them, he was part of them, chosen, not by law, not by blood, but by love. The stars were quiet above them. The storm had passed, and the land lay calm. But inside the shelter, something deep had settled. A feeling they had never known before. Not fear, not survival, but peace. The alien mother sat near the small fire. With her youngest in her lap, she watched as Cole worked outside under the twin moons. He was building something, piece by piece, hammering metal, setting bolts. The children peeked from the window, giggling every time he dropped a tool or cursed. Under his breath, he laughed too, waving a greasy hand and shouting, "Hey, I heard that." The mother smiled quietly, a smile full of something she hadn't felt in cycles comfort. This place, once cold and broken, was now a home. Not perfect, not rich, but real. Cole stepped back inside later, brushing dust from his jacket. "Okay?" he said. "I need you all outside. I have something to show you." The children rushed ahead, excited. The mother followed, holding the smallest by the hand. When they reached the edge of the shelter, they stopped. Before them stood a small structured new walls made from recycled metal. Windows patched with clear panels. A door painted with bright red lines, like the symbols from her people's old stories. Above the door, carved into wood, were words. In both human English and her native tongue, "This is our home, and no one takes it from us." The oldest child gasped. The middle one touched the door with wide eyes. The mother stepped forward, her hand trembling. "You made this?" she asked Cole. He nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's not much," he said, "but it's solid, warm, and safe. I figured you deserve more than just a corner in my old shelter. This one is yours." She stared at him, heart full. In her world, no one had ever built anything for her. Not a tent, not a bed, not even a shadow to stand in. And this man, this human, had made her a house. The children ran inside, shouting with joy as they discovered soft mats, water storage, shelves with small toys and supplies. The youngest found a blanket shaped like a star and wrapped herself in it, spinning and laughing. The mother stepped in last, her bare feet touching the clean floor. Her voice was soft, but filled with meaning. This is more than home." Cole looked down, a little awkward. "Well, I figured, if I'm staying, I should do it right." He pulled out a small, carved ring, nothing fancy. Just wood and stone, shaped with care. He held it out to her without a word. Her eyes widened. She didn't know Earth customs. But she understood what this gesture meant. Her voice trembled. "You want to be our family?" Cole nodded slowly. "I already am," he said. "If you'll have me." She took the ring, her hands shaking. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she wrapped her arms around him, for the first time, not in fear. Not in thanks, but in love. The children ran up and hugged them both. One of them shouted, "Now we are a real family." In the weeks that followed, the shelter became something special. Aliens from nearby ruins began visiting, mothers with lost children, fathers with no jobs. Cole and the mother opened their home to them all. They called it the safe nest, a place where no one was turned away, where kindness was stronger than law. Cole taught farming skills, repaired old tech, shared food. The mother translated stories, helped other women heal. The children played outside, growing stronger, learning both languages, both cultures. One day a trader from off-world came and asked, "You're really living with her? Raising alien kids?" Cole simply smiled and replied, "They're not alien to me, they're mine." The trader laughed. "You're crazy." Cole nodded. "Maybe, but I'm not alone anymore." And so the man who had once lived in silence, who had lost his blood family to war and fire, found a new family in the most unexpected place. A mother who had been thrown away, 3 children with no father, and a shelter no one believed could ever feel like home. But they built something stronger than walls. They built belonging, and in the heart of a harsh, distant planet, a human and alien mother and her children chose each other, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Because sometimes the family you choose is the one that saves you the most.